important power picks for both of these sides. We can also see Talia and Azir already being out, so that gives some space to contest that Ryze that has been buffed. Ooh. But first pick is actually going to be Nico here for AL.
Yeah, they want to make sure that they have a priority support. Definitely opens up for them to even go for that Kalista-Nico pairing and maybe even try to really take the early game versus WE. Again, a weakness for them as the series have gone on. I think the bans are pretty interesting to me. We will wrap on that towards the end of this draft, but already WE going for some pretty strong team fight tools, especially early on. You're going to have this Rumble here for Cube, and now Leona coming on through. You're giving Engage for Vampire.
Yeah. Definitely. It looks really good. Also, ultimates that you can just layer very, very well. You know, the solar flare into the equalizer. That should work quite nicely. I wonder what you want to pair the Nico with on bot lane. Obviously, when we go back to ultimate layering, maybe something like an MF, even though I don't feel like it is just as strong as we are getting the Kalista, and that is more of my liking. Some aggressive, aggressive picks, and also very, very mobile, which is something that Jhin can say for himself.
All right, so WE are not going to have a lot of push here. They're going to have a ton of range, though, especially Leona, Jhin, and Rumble. Really going to try to make sure that they can outrange their opponents, especially when you look at AL so far. They really want to get up and close with their opponents. AL with a very, very early game skew draft here. You can potentially go for a level 3 dive here on the 3rd wave or 4th wave, depending. So I want to see if Tarzan's going to keep up with that aggressive nature as we get into the second half of the draft.
Yeah, I'm going to, ask about the Poppy just for a second, because it is a flex pick on paper. Sure. Would you play top lane jungles? Support obviously is not an option here, but are we still looking for a strong jungle pick, or are we still looking for a strong top lane pick?
I think this has to be top lane. I think the Poppy has to be going to the jungle. Tarzan has, by far, it's been one of his most played here in the split, and obviously with Nico. Into Rumble, it's not great, so unless there's a really spicy champion that Flandre is trying to see a little bit more of the draft for, I have to imagine that AL are looking to potentially change up the top lane matchup. I like this advantage coming in from WE, though, getting rid of the Orianna and the Galio. I think a lot of powerful picks taken away from Shanks and from Flandre, and now getting rid of a lot of focus onto Monki here with Trundle and Zed.
Yep. The jungle bans coming in. Sadly, no Trundle Nidalee for us in this game. But we do get a Ryze, one of both of these mid laners' most played champs. On the other side, Shanks wants to go for the Annie. We have seen a little bit of Zenny in the little clips that we've just watched. So it's safe to say it's a pick he has been playing before. Maybe not as comfortable as some other picks, as it's only been a few games. But definitely a power pick if we look to that Tibbers. Ever since they kind of adapted that, it just became more and more ruthless, and now they're rounding it out with the Yorick on the other side, leaving us with a possible jungle pick.
Wow.
Ooh, I like all of these picks. It's like carry focused, and I love that. I want to see a carry jungler here.
All right, they're giving Monki counter pick here. I think when you look at what AL are showing, though, they're very low range. They're trying to burst out a single target. I feel Xin Zhao would have maybe been a little bit better here, especially with having that Crescent Guard. Gives him a lot of immunity versus some of the range here from anyone's Legend. But instead, they want to try to go for an all-in. My worry here, Mila, is yes, Viego will have that carry potential, but he doesn't have a ton of damage for him to actually get all of these knockouts so that he can actually get the resets, right? Like, you're going to be walking in, there's going to be an Annie shield, you're going to get Tibbers potentially coming on through unless you're going to kind of try to cancel it with your ultimate. I have a really strong feeling that while WE will be able to hold on in the early portions of this game, AL are going to win a single fight around an objective and everything's just going to blow up.
Yeah, definitely. I think Viego as itself, I always say, is like a main character type of pick. You know, he wants to be there. He wants to be everyone, everywhere, all the time. He needs his resets. And I always feel like these reset-focused drafts are very, very hard to execute because they're easy to punish in a way. So as long as you kind of take Viego out of the equation, which you definitely want to do, playing around objectives anyways, I feel like he's going to have a very rough time. I do like the several ultimates they have in their game, though. So let's see if, let's say, a Rumble can step up in the later stages of the game, a Ryze can step up in the later stages of the game. Draft-wise, I feel like Anyone's Legend looks really scary though.
Yeah,
Also,
that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Yeah, I love the skins. You know, we've been getting better and better skins. It's funny. Every time I've seen Annie so far, and, you know, maybe the small sample size, maybe I just missed an Annie game, but we've also not seen too many people take an actual Annie skin. She's been basically default every single game. So, getting ready for game number 1 here, though, as AL are going to be taking the Rift against WE.
It's going to be a banger. I can already feel it. As we're going in, you said it. So far, no crazy early game shenanigans. Oh, maybe we're getting some. Oh. Something is happening for sure. We're moving into the tri-bush, and Hope has to be a little careful here, but manages to make it out just in time before anything crazy can happen. And now WE have to make a decision. Do they want to go for a late invade? Do they just want to, you know, go towards their lanes? As we get a little bit of damage here from the Nico.
Yeah, you do have a Leona, right? So Leona, Ryze usually takes his Rune Prison first, just so that he has a little bit more ability to actually proc his Mana Flow Band early on, and over the Spell Flux doesn't really do much early. So in terms of their level 1 prowess, definitely a lot stronger than their opponents. But we need to see how AL set up this bottom lane dive. You can already see Tarzan starting on the top side, pathing down here. And as long as Hope and Kael with this double range bot lane get priority first, it should be really easy for them to be able to find early game tools and potentially a dive.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see where the jungle attention is going to go, to be honest. Because I feel like historically, when you have a Kalista in your game, you definitely want to play around these bot side objectives. You definitely want to play towards these Drakes, as we can already see a lot of Hope coming out here. We get the tempo heal even, but nothing crazy. Damage just not enough yet to actually go for a kill here. Even though I feel like if you would want to hard commit, maybe something was possible.
Maybe, but now all they're doing is making it really hard for WE, because with Vampire already chunked out like this, it's going to be much more difficult for AL or for WE to actually walk up on the wave. You're actually going to be forcing an early recall here, which means Taeyoon is by himself. You're going to guarantee that the wave is going to crash, and while it isn't going to be a 3rd or 4th wave dive, what they could potentially do is recognize that, hey, Monkey's not going to really be in the area. Let's just try to go for something here and maybe get a little bit more vision onto the enemy jungle.
Yep, absolutely. As we're looking at the win rates just a little bit. Cube doing a good job on his Rumble, so definitely kind of, yeah, gives me the point again of him having to step up a little bit in the late game here with the ultimate, definitely able to do a lot of work. As we can see Monki moving in to his topside jungle, maybe possibly looking for something on mid lane or topside. But Poppy, Tarzan, is near his bot lane and kind of, yeah, gives me the feeling of maybe some level 3 cheese going on. Let's see. Is going to spot here in the tri-bush, so WE, good reaction, moving backwards right away.
Oh,
trying to stay
Monkey.
safe.
Yeah, Monki actually just gave up his red buff. He was going to try and do this and see maybe if he can look for a top side, but instead of going for the dive, they're just going to cut Taeyoon off of this wave. He is still level 1 right now at 3.5 minutes.
Oof. Yeah, that's a roughie, as they're going for the engage now. Vampire stepping forward. We do get the flash. Ignite also coming out, so Kael has to be a little careful, as Hope is now the next target. But Monki gets caught, and a very nice flash from Hope over the wall as they fight the first blood. But it's really important for them to not give up more. WE, they've lost so much on this bot lane right now. Snipe goes wide. No chance for Taeyoon to actually do anything. It's crazy.
Oh my god, that was an incredible dive, and maybe they go for more. He has no flash. Take this guy down.
Yeah, they really want him. Tarzan has more than enough damage, especially being backed up by Hope here. That is some strong early game there on the bot side, and exactly what you want to do, playing around a Kalista.
Alright, well, Mila, I'm looking at the game. We're 4.5 minutes in. AL already have the Feats of Warfare. The Kalista is 1,000 gold up and gets to start the game off at 4.5 minutes with completed Berserker Greaves. That is possibly as good as it could get right now for anyone's Legend. And they even had to pull Monki for this play. This is such an incredible start for them. Kael finding the Tangle Barbs stops his Viego from getting in. They have no idea that Tarzan is here. So Monki flashes forward. There's just not enough damage. Taeyoon is still level 1 this entire time. So the fact that they're able to get away, get all of these kills, is a massive boon for them. As we get a pause, we come back to a pause.
Of course.
I think WE were like, okay, that completely went south. We might need a remake, guys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we've talked about it before the stream, but you've mentioned that for anyone's legend, the point where you want to try to punish them is this early game. You want to try and look to find something, and WE, they did not find anything there. If anything, it makes things so much worse now. So yeah, definitely, it's definitely a let me pause moment right there, because they need to take a breath. That was already too much going on for this level 1 to level 3 action down there.
They're already inspecting Monki's PC right now. They're like,
they're like, something's wrong. But looking at these individual players that were involved in this specific situation, who do you think got it worse? Is it worse for the AD carry, or is it worse for the jungler here? Like, who comes out of this feeling like, ah, damn?
Probably Taeyoon, just because he got zoned off of the wave on the third wave around like 3 minutes, and then he gets killed again, so he dies, and his AD carry gets at least 1 kill and then 2 assists. It obviously really sucks for Monki, who did a little bit of like some interesting pathing. He started on his Raptors, did his entire bot side just to make sure if Tarzan was going to go for an early dive. He goes back up to the top side to do his Krugs, and instead of finishing his red buff, has to book it to the bot lane. I feel like both parts of the game that we were kind of talking about before, Monki and, in tandem, the bottom lane here for WE, are really screwed now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so important also with like jungle pathing that you get your tempo right, that you get ahead a little bit on the map. And Viego, more than any other carry jungler, definitely needs that little advantage here and there. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be a roughie. If we're looking at the side of anyone's legend, how do you want to capitalize even more of this play? You want to force in bot lane a little more, want to deny more CS? Is that what the play is going to be?
I think after this next wave, and with 3 minutes before the next grubs, it's very likely that we see AL go for a swap. It's going to be Yorick into this bottom lane that I don't think are really going to be able to pressure him under turret, especially with the Dark Procession. So wondering if Hope and Kael are going to try to use this to really spread the wealth around the map. Say, hey, look, maybe Taeyoon's allowed to farm a little bit more versus the Yorick, but we're going to help put this Rumble behind and try to really slingshot the rest of our team ahead.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting, as we can see already. WE's bot lane moving a little further into the map towards that mid lane. That's a swap we've seen a lot, also in Europe actually. A lot of teams do it here. So they move towards mid lane instead of the top lane. So no Australian lanes so far. But there is a whole lot of pings coming out towards this river. And the possible first Drake. So let's see if they can find something. Monki in the bushes, trying to position here as the root comes through. And now Shanks has to pull the timbers, and that initial damage is crazy. Shanks is level 6. Taeyoon is level 3. You better run for the hills.
You've got 20 CS, and you've literally not been able to play with any of your summoner spells since you left the base. So
this is
Taeyoon,
disgusting.
Yeah, they get no priority. I like the idea there from WE. They want to play around mid, see if they can get a summoner spell or get a cooldown like the Tibbers out from Shanks so that they can play for this early dragon. But instead it just turns into a free win for AL. They grab themselves more plates. They're going to crash another wave here and grab themselves the first dragon. Everything is going right for AL in this early game.
That's insane. That's like 40 CS lead now for Hope over Taeyoon. That's honestly madness. This Jhin is not going to have any fun this game. As you can see, Monki kind of trying to get some damage reduction, if you want to call it that, going into the enemy jungle, going for the little invade here, as we saw AL picking up the first Drake of the game. And now maybe moving towards that top side a little more as the grubs are about to spawn on the map. But Monki gets spotted there. So Flandre, very informed about what's going on. No big, fear for any gangs here, as they're just very well informed.
I feel like you just cannot walk into this top side right now. Like, WE, they're basically going to have to avoid this bottom lane duo. Anywhere that Kael and Hope go feels like it is a no-go, a zone of you're not allowed to enter, because now they have level 6 on Hope, so Fate's Call is always going to be there to provide some kind of crowd control. And if Kael hits level 6 before Vampire, that's basically just giving AL the early game. This is a very strong start here for them, and having that Pop Blossom, especially with Taeyoon's flash just now coming back up, you're asking for trouble if you're WE.
Oh yeah, 100%. I also feel like Kael also has a lot of responsibility in this game. The Pop Blossom is such an important tool for teamfight setup. I'm very excited to see how he's going to, you know, play it out and make it work. As we can see, people moving towards that grubby pit, but we do have Monki at the objective first. And WE, they have a nice position in the river, but that's a very nice Poppy Hammer as they're flashing forward. They want to play it aggressively. Hope even ults Kael into the enemy, but still no ultimate for the Nico. That's the good news here for WE. Maybe they can do something, as there is a Tibbers running wild. Oh my god! Shanks, Tibbers, craziness. Absolutely insane, as Flandre even gets the pickup on Monki here. And they have, did we talk about how they have like several extra members on their team? As Shanks picks up the kill, they have Tibbers and the Maiden. This is so unfair. They are like 7 people on the map.
Technically 8 if you count the Nico clone. So
true. That's
Mila,
ridiculous.
I've got to say, and I know it's early. However, 9 minutes, almost a 5,000 goal lead after more of these plates fall. They got all 3 grubs and the first 6 kills of the game. I don't want to say it's over, but it feels very unplayable if you are Team WE. This is exactly the early game that they needed to find with this composition. They knock Vampire out, and while this doesn't go perfectly, Tangle Barbs miss, there's no wallbang onto Monki here. The rest of WE, they have no spells to play with. They're missing ultimates. I think if Kael had even gone closer to getting his ultimate, this is just completely Jover, but 3-man stun into multiple kills. AO get everything in the kitchen sink from Team WE.
Yeah, and they also got so many summoners. We've heard flash after flash after flash. There's not a single flash, apart from vampires. But that's a hex flash, so it doesn't count. But, you know, there's not a single flash on that team now. And Hope has both of his summoners, so it's definitely a very chill situation for him. And I love how the Maiden is she's just vibing, you know? I know there's these compilations of the Maiden just hanging around and not doing anything. This one, she's active, she's there, she's awake, so it's gonna be a fun one.
I can't believe Flandre has put in the Maiden to work like this. This is unfair.
Yeah.
Again, we were talking about like Karis and Monki having to be baby girl and, you know, some princess treatment. I feel like the Maiden deserves a little bit of love. She's been getting a lot of buffs recently, to be fair, from Riot. But, you know, I feel like Flandre can do a little bit more. We'll see.
Well,
maybe now
he's
with
definitely
Monki
trying. Oh, very nice equalizer. At least thins out the wave a little bit, and Flandre has to take a little bit of damage. Doesn't have his flash, as Monki is kind of looking for the right way in, but there's just no way. The wave is coming. There is more than enough damage, and now with Tarzan in the area as well, we can already see WE, they have to respect it. There's nothing they can do as we get another nice Tibbers play here, and Karis just has to run for the hills because that bear is hella annoying.
This is basically what you do on Annie now, with the changes, especially with her getting flat MR or magic penetration now with the ultimate. You're never going to be able to match the wave clear of a champion like Ryze, so with Electrocute and now with the Finish Malignance, Shanks is always just going to be able to walk up, have stun ready, and then just drop Malignance on top of him with the Tibbers, and makes it very easy for Shanks to be able to find plays like this, constantly bursting him out. And WE, during all of this, Monki was topside, Leona really couldn't step into this bottom side river. It is complete vision domination coming in from anyone's Legend as they set up for the second dragon of the game at 12 minutes.
It's insanity. Flandre already working on that last plating of the top lane turret. It's not going to be enough just yet to actually take the tower down, but that will be 5 full platings funneled into Flandre here, who already also completed his first item. And now with the invade, this game is getting even harder for Monki. Not really gets anything. That ult is an idea.
He got the wave. Look, that's all that matters. We got access to the mini wave. They weren't allowed to do that. That's better than what Taeyoon's been given this game.
That's true. That's true. Okay, I take it. I get it. I would, for a second there, I was scared that they would put themselves into a dive position, but Tarzan just decided, you know what? I don't want more kills. I want the second Drake. So they should be fine here.
I started freaking out because I saw, basically, I saw them using Realm Warp, and then suddenly there was a Flash Pop Blossom coming in. Hope?
Oh my god! Hope is super mobile, but has used Flash and Cleanse, therefore Curtain Call Snipe just fits, but we get the first Pop Blossom! And it's an easy kill. Vampire trying to re-engage Kael here, but Tibbers is still there. And is going to make sure that Vampire has no business at all moving in further, as we might get a little bit of a redemption arc here on the mid lane. Tarzan picking up the kill on the enemy jungler, redeeming his AD carry. And Flandre is now a jungler as well. Honestly, I don't want to be Monki in this game. I really don't want to be Monki in this game. It's crazy.
I don't want to be WE in this game. All of them are suffering. I
mean,
Shanks is going to take this bottom lane tier 1. Taeyoon now loses his flash. They have gone, it is not even 14 minutes, so that is at least 10 plates taken between Hope and Flandre and Shanks. That is all of the gold onto the correct carries here for anyone's legend, and a very dominant early game coming in from them, recognizing that they can play and kind of get away with this versus a team. Again, WE not really expected by the community or by analysts to be really a close matchup versus anyone's legend, but they are playing such a dominant early game style, and they are smashing WE.
Yeah, 100%. If we look at the individual gold leads just now, it looks a little insane, as Cube is trying to put some work onto this top lane here. Monki in the area too. Equalizer coming out, but their flashes are being traded, and Flandre goes for the solo bolo kill, and he's 2 levels up on Monki, and the maiden just has to tickle him a little bit. So it's a double kill in top lane, and that's just... I mean, I'm sorry, but that's a 3-0 Yorick. That champion can solo carry the game if he wants to.
He was giving out last rights, left, right, and center there. He was like, here, you can take a shovel, you can take a shovel, and I'll just keep farming up, getting more healing from my Q. I feel like that right there kind of cements the game. It is 7,000 gold at 15 minutes. That is a disgusting gold differential. Something that, I mean, when we look at this team statistically, they are doing very well early. AL are a very well-coached team at the very least. They show up to objectives. They have strong objective control. They always play for first bloods, but this is just a highlight reel here for Flandre on the York. Glad we get to see this from him. This game is cooked for WE, and we're getting ready for game number 2.
It's really rough. I mean, look, there's always the chance of a throw. We've seen bigger gold leads being thrown, as Tarzan is a little bit in a sticky position here, as the Pop Blossom goes just wide because Karis has to flash over the wall, but Flandre just solo kills another person as they're looking for more, moving further forward. Very nice chase here. Shanks coming in with Tarzan from the side, throwing out the Tibbers once more, and it's an absolute slaughter fest in the bot lane. Holy cow. Honestly, GG go next. I don't even know where the options are for WE in this game. How do they even come back? Is there anything they can really do?
They can head backstage, get their draft ready, and then they can come back by getting back onto their PCs and logging in for Game 2 draft. We are 16 minutes, 10,000 gold. Like, I don't know how much more we can talk about this game, just with how cooked it is. And anyone's legend really showing off why a lot of these guys are on the All-Pro ballot. Just being able to play so dominantly. It's been a little bit since we saw this team, and yes, WE had a really easy series, all things considered, up against LGD for the play-ins, but it kind of feels like AL have not missed a beat, especially on the new patch.
I love how someone in chat said, not even my Iron games are just one-sided, and I felt that because, man, I've been there, and I mean, in Iron you wouldn't play this game. It's just you would have surrendered at this point.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, there's also probably a lot lower CS numbers, I would assume, in an Iron game.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, gotta admit. Is this a 20k gold lead angle? Very good question. We've seen 20k gold lead yesterday in the LEC, if I'm not wrong. which is crazy.
I don't remember if it was LEC because I know we had Fnatic versus GX.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It was
It
definitely
was something.
it was in NLC. It was the Ready
Oh, that
Stack
was
versus.
maybe it was. Oh yeah, it was
Ghost
NLC.
Recones.
You're absolutely right. I read it on Twitter. I laughed and then I closed Twitter and forgot everything about it. But
Yeah, the
that
rats
is
were like,
insane.
oh, it's like the first 20k gold. And I'm like, that's not true. I'm glad Nymero is doing the God's work of dispelling the myths of the rats. But
Love.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of 20k. I know there's at least one 20k gold lead game here in the LPL. I've yet to find it, but I know it happened. Maybe it'll be this game. Maybe we get another one here. Flandre's by himself, no flash, but they do no damage.
Yeah, damage-wise, it's really, really rough. They try to layer the ultimates just as we kind of predicted in draft, but he's able to play this! Very nice ultimate from Monki over the wall, though. Important kill here for Q, but how much are they losing on the map? The Herald charging through, even stepping back in, and now they're going for a little Tokyo Drift and moving towards that bot lane inhibitor turret as well. First inhib down, they do have the 3 Void Grubs, so this one is going down fast. They're looking to get at least a second inhib here. And I'm not sure, but they can't fight it. Tibbers is there. Cube is absolutely deleted from the map. And now Tibbers is frontlining whilst everyone else is kind of trying to, you know, move out. They've gotten what they came for. And now they want to play it safe. But that's 2 inhibs down in minute 19. Holy cow.
I have great news for WE fans. That kill onto Flandre has doubled the amount of kills that WE had prior to that kill. So they're doing great. Flandre has 40% of his team's damage. I think that's insane. But I think this is going to be a game that is going to do a lot of stat padding for some of these players. They are going to look very, very good in the post-game stats coming in through on this one. AL, we're only at 19.5 minutes. They have 3 dragons. They have 7 turrets, 3 grubs. What else can you really ask for outside of just straight up taking the Nexus from TWE? This has been an absolute clinical game coming in to start for them here early on in the playoffs.
Yeah, as we're looking at that replay from mid lane where they are just playing it aggressively. They have nothing to worry about. They can just flash forward under the turret. It does not matter.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Next objective they are possibly looking at is Yatakan. It just spawned right now because, yes, we're only in minute 20, but there's a 10k gold lead on the map. I'm not sure anyone actually cares about any objectives at all at this point because why not just end? But Tarzan definitely wants to go.
Yep, Tabe, he would have brought out the belt. Tabe has been a very big proponent about, you know, doing one-on-ones with his players, making sure that they are trying to stay as sharp as possible. And especially for anyone's legend, I feel like this has to be the split that they kind of get a lot of things done here in the playoffs, because making it into grand finals in split 1 was amazing. Falling to top esports, kind of breaking the history that we saw for them in Demacia Cup where they won versus top esports, then losing in grand finals. I feel like that would have been a really good way to kind of cement themselves as the best team here in the region. And while there have been moments where AL have looked like the #1 team, they have fallen short against some of our other top teams. So taking this win versus WE and kind of doing it as clinically as possible is important.
As we can see, another Solar Flare coming out as well as the equalizer, but the Pop Blossom in the backline just kills off Karis right then and there. As they're now looking to move further forward, both the Maiden and the Tibbers, as the members, additional members of the team are doing a lot of work, but we get another Ice ultimate from Monki. He manages to pick up the reset, but has to give his life in order for his team to, you know, stay alive here in this scenario. But Taeyoon is going so low. Hope is being sniped off. But you still have Flandre and Kael on the map. And that's just enough for at least another inhib, if not actually looking to go for more.
It's 22 minutes and we have all 3 inhibitors.
It's crazy. It's ridiculous. I love everything about it. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, you know, I was really sad that Hope ended up dying there because I wanted to continue the bit of WE. They doubled the amount of kills. They did it again. You know, they went from 1 to 2, 2 to 4. 5 is not an even number, though. It makes me a little sad to see that. We're going to check into this replay. I mean, yes, it is AL going a little bit deep, but, like, Poppy's Keeper's Verdict stops Vampire from getting anywhere near here. You just see that Karis, where are we, brother? We're lost. We might need to get a GPS coming back into that fight. And while they try to go for a dive, I think even with these kills going over, this honestly does not put a dent into the lead that anyone's Legends have.
I mean, look, maybe they are waiting for AL to be a little cocky, you know, to make some mistakes by just being a bit too ballsy because they feel like they can just do this. But the problem is they actually can just do it. They can pretty much do anything on this
I thought
map.
you were the AL fan. Why are you giving copium for WE? They are not winning this game.
I am an AL fan, but I'm also a caster of the people. So if there is even a single people out there who wants to see WE winning, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to doubt them. So
I have not seen this graphic in forever. That's how I know the LPL production is bored right now. They are putting any kind of graphic they want on the screen. Monki was in AL's jungle. He was trying to steal away some camps, maybe finish a last item. He's getting closer to what looks to be a collector here. There are some crit chance scalings for Monki and this Viego, so I honestly, I'm really grasping at straws here. It looks like AL right now, they just want to keep farming structures on repeat, and if they can't end here, well, guess what? There's a dragon in a minute that'll give them soul, and a baron in a minute and a half.
I just wanted to say, look, the inhib is respawning. So much hope for WE, but, well, there's not a lot of hope because the waves just keep pushing in. Maiden and Flandre doing the work together. All inhibs are back down. And I feel like AL, they are just waiting for a wave state that kind of gives them the opportunity to move further forward here. Maybe this is the moment as they are trapping Taeyoon on the side. And now only one turret is standing between them and the Nexus, and Vampire just pops like a bubble. As it's again Tibbers and the Maiden, the additional members of the team going in. Very nice pop blossom underneath the turret, and everyone is just getting absolutely deleted. Taeyoon trying to save himself in the base, it's not enough. In the end, it's the clean ace, the triple kill, and game number 1 for anyone's Legend.
24.5 minutes. That game went on longer than 5 minutes. Like, we dove them on bottom lane, mid lane started going down, and then Monki could not find any purchase here. A very good showing in their first series of playoffs for anyone's Legend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, honestly, I'm not even sure what WE want to look at. You know, what do you review from this? Where do you start? Was it really just that level 3 gank on bot lane that made everything fall apart already? Was that the point? Or, you know, what happened? What happened to them?
I think nothing. I think there's really not much they could have done. They maybe could have played the bot lane duo a little bit better, especially, you know, we're talking about that dive that ended up occurring, Taeyoon getting forced off of his waves, but I really do feel like this was a game where you are not allowed to really play Viego here for Monki. I know that we kind of put a lot of eggs into the Monki and kind of carrying this team. He is the leader for this squad, but you kind of sometimes need to bite the bullet, and we're just going to play some Xin Zhao. I'm going to be less of a carry for the team and more so, you have so much setup. You have a Jhin Leona, you have a Ryze. I can understand the idea of wanting to go for the Viego, but I just think that like having early game skirmishing, especially how strong, the fact that Xin Zhao even made it all the way to 5 is really, really surprising to me. So we'll see what Game 2 draft looks like for WE, and obviously they'll probably look towards grabbing blue side, but everything going right for them on the side of AL, and also a really, really well-executed draft.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like they understood their win conditions very early on in the game. They knew they had to find these punishes. They knew they had to play around that bot lane. It happened at level 3, and you know, I mean, for me, obviously, as an ADC, I feel for Taeyoon here, because that early game was rough. You did not get to farm a single wave there for 5 minutes straight. And, I mean, it shows, you know. They tried. They really did. But it just
That's
was
the whole WE game plan for this one.
Far from
they
enough.
tried.
They tried. I mean, there's not a lot more you can do as we're looking back at the highlights. This was that level 3, which initially didn't look too bad for WE, because they did think, oh, we found a pick here. But very nice cleanse from Hope into the flash over the wall, and that thing was done and dusted.
Taeyoon was level 1 for the first 3.5 minutes of this game. And that kind of feels like it tells a lot of what ended up happening here. Glad to see from AL that they haven't really lost some of that early skirmishing. I was worried whether or not this team was kind of going to try to default back into more of that later game team fighting that we've seen from them and a lot of that success that they've had so far throughout the split.
Yeah.
But showing that they can execute. Now, the caveat I will give is obviously Team WE is not going to be on the same level of a team like a BLG, a JDG, right? Or a Top Esports. So I'm glad that AL are looking to experiment. The fact that they can have these kind of reps underneath them is great. I wonder how much other teams are really going to buy into this as like hey, this is a very real strategy that AL can potentially look to try to play for.
Yeah. I'm so sad that this game was so one-sided because I would have loved to talk a little bit about our mid lane matchup here, but there's not a lot to talk about, Annie just took over the game at some point. We saw that very nice 3-man stun into Tibbers that resulted in 2 very nice kills. As this was maybe the one point where I thought, are they getting cocky? Is AL kind of, not throwing it, but are they making mistakes? The answer is no. They ended up getting an inhib nonetheless, which is ridiculous.
This is the only, I think, redeeming part of the game that we saw from WE, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They got a majority of their kills here, actually. They got 3 kills in this play, which is more than we can say about the rest of this. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to start to think about who is going to be player of the game. I feel you could give it to any one of these bot laners. This is one of those kind of situations where the game was kind of over. I feel like they might give it to Flandre, especially for that outplay he had.
Oh yeah, that was nice. Yeah, just getting a 1v2 double kill on top lane, that was really, really nice. But I feel like it's a very hard game to decide for a player of the game because everyone played out of their minds. But that was also thanks to the early game just going very well, which was led by the bot lane. Very rough. I don't know. Maybe chat can give us some ideas of what they think who the player of the game could possibly be, because I'm honestly undecided. I don't know.
Here we go.
Let's see.
Could also see Tarzan. All right,
It's
we're going to give it to Flandre.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Really great job for
sense.
him. Yeah, he played this game really well, especially as one of the early adopters of the Yorick here in the LPL. So happy to see that he was able to pull this off, and just again a really solid game from minute 1 all the way to 25 here from Anyone's Legend.
Yeah, definitely. As we're taking a second to thank everyone who's joining our Ko-fi and our YouTube subscribers as well, because you help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, of course, but a huge bulk of it also pays for our on-air talent, content creators. So make sure to subscribe to our Ko-fi. The link should be in the chat, and you can unlock the perks of early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our on-site interviews, which is super cool. So you should definitely not miss out on that. Jesus Christ, I cannot talk. It is very early in Germany, guys. I am half asleep, but that game definitely woke me up. We're still going to take a short break right now so we can take a breath, and then we'll be back for game number 2 between Anyone's Legend and Team WE.